My name is Kim Meller-Angus, and I teach at Ankeny, Northview Middle School. And hopefully my objective today is so you guys can develop some new ways to incorporate technology into your lessons and assessments. Basic agenda, little introduction of myself, logistics of how I set up my classroom. Today is kind of a choose your own adventure. There's not enough time for me to show you every way I do a formative, every project idea, every game. But at the very end, there's a tools document. I've tried to link projects, rubrics, really helpful links that you guys can go through and look at this afternoon. Also, with me going so quick, I'm going to kind of show you, but I'm not going to be able to walk you through all the different steps, which again will be great this afternoon that you can work on something that you really find interesting. My goal is that we hit some of these 21st century skills in the Iowa core, and these are a few that I'm hoping that these projects will incorporate. And I went to University of Iowa. I majored in psychology and history, secondary education major. I got a master's in technology education through Mizzou. I will not claim that I know everything about technology. There are people in this classroom who I think know way more than me. My husband reminds me, I think nightly, that I cannot work the Apple remote and that my master's is worthless. But again, I am just a tool, learning, failing. That's part of teaching technology. I taught at Clear Creek Amana, and I taught about everything in 8 years. If you're at a small school, you know you're teaching as much as possible. And now I'm at Northview, and I've taught 8th grade American history, 9th grade global studies, and this year I'm teaching an argumentation class. And I'm also pretty busy with cross country and track. So today we're going to jump in. I want to know a little bit about you. I just gave you a quick run through about me. You should see on your screen a little flag. What I'd like you to do is drag that flag to what area you teach. So I kind of have an idea on where I should gauge my audience. As you're doing this, I'm going to have the responses show for the teacher. Looks like I've got a lot of people that must be maybe at smaller school districts that teach a lot of everything. So hopefully we'll find something for you. Psychology and sociology, I would say general things. I could not find something really specific, but I do have some things that can make your life easier. US studies, you are my people. I have taught that for like 13 years, so I have tons of stuff. But again, a lot of geography stuff as well. Do you have a learning management system? Basically, that's how students share information with you. Canvas, Google Classroom are the two big ones in the state. I should have put an other category, but, or do you not use one? Give me another idea. I'm going to put up the responses so I can kind of see. Looks like a lot of Google Classroom users. We have maybe 1 or 2 Canvas people. I have seen Canvas, I have not used it, but kind of the same format. All right, I'm going to continue on. So a lot of Google people. I'm glad we all use some sort of LMS. So the logistics of my classroom, it is not every single day we're on our computers. I am not someone who is a totally 100% flipped. For my sanity, there are days that 8th graders cannot use a computer and learn at the same time. They just go shut. However, there are days that I find it very useful. And one thing to make my life easier is Google Classroom, or if you use Canvas, the same thing. Google Classroom this year kind of has a different format. I'm still getting used to it. But having this clear topics so students can find where I'm posting stuff. Each unit, I'm going to say unit 1 classwork, so they're not digging for past units, and I can drag this up or down, and my formative so I can check. The most helpful thing that I have discovered in, I would say, using Google Classroom is making an agenda. I'm going to show you that real quick, and this is something you could use for Canvas as well. There is nothing fancy, new technology about this. It is a scrolling document with what I do each day. And it's just a link that I put in Google Classroom so they know where to find it each day. This has simplified my life. Because kids, when you say they missed the day, they can't find what they're looking for because there's an announcement posted, there's an exit card, there's an assessment. So I've tried to actually post a lot less. It's also nice because when a parent's like, I can't work Google Classroom, it's too hard, I just send this link and it's a scrolling link and it changes every day and they can see exactly what we did. So everything we do, I post except for assessments on this agenda. This agenda at the very bottom, I posted the assessment for the unit so you'd have access to that too. But what I really found this year that I've enjoyed, I now have a great running document of everything I did last year instead of going through my Google folder and trying to remember what goes with what. So this has made my life easier from the teaching perspective and for the student perspective that they have really liked it. Every link in here, I think I went through and made sure it was a public view, so you should have access to pretty much this entire unit as well. All right. Presentation. Like I said, I do not have time to cover everything. So these are kind of my 3 general areas that I can go over. So what I would like you to do is pick which of these you want me to focus on first. And I may just get to one area. I may just pick one of the 3. Tools for formative check. I've got Socrative in there. I have Pear Deck, which I'm showing you. I can go through that more. And using Flubaroo as a tool. Project-based learning options, I have about every different type in games, Kahoot, Quizlet, US Mission for my US Studies people out there. All right, I've got 22 people responded. I'll wait just a little longer, but let's see where we're at. So it looks like tools for formative checks and project-based learning options. Those are the 2 big ones that we are going to look at first. And so we will skip games. They are all linked that you can look at on your own time. Oh, we're neck and neck. That doesn't help me out which one to go first. I need my 25, 26 person to vote. Oh, neck and neck again. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll start at formative checks. I'll do 1 or 2 of them, and then I will go on to a couple of project-based learning. Oh, my games people, they re-voted, okay. All right, these are the 3 kind of big ones that are used in my district. Which one would you like to know more about that I can start with first? Pear Deck, again, is what I'm using now. Flubaroo, something I use all the time. And Socrative is something that I would say the South Side uses a lot. I'm not as familiar with, but I steal a lot of their information through it. As I'm looking, it looks like Socrative and Pear Deck are the big ones that we're kind of go through. We do have some Google form. I will say my knowledge on Socrative, you're going to get a very quick overview, so I won't be there very long, but it's something worth playing with. All right, so we're going to start with Socrative and then head to Pear Deck. Socrative is a great way to share quizzes, and they have a lot of different options on there as well that you can do exit cards. It's something that you just need to get on and play with a little more. You can see on the right, I took a screenshot. These are all the different units and quizzes that the Southside teachers have shared with me. And are there people that use Socrative already in their classroom? Everyone is a no. Okay, my A person, that one person, raise your hand, wave it very clearly so everyone can see you. Oh, I scared them away. I was going to say, that is the person you want to talk to this afternoon about using Socrative. I've really used it in the teacher end, sharing information. The South Side loves it. That's how they do all their quizzes. Log on, play with it. It is very much worthwhile. Okay, I'm going to skip right to, it looked like Pear Deck was the other big one that I'm skipping to. Pear Deck is what I'm using now. I'm going to ask you a quick question. And when I use Pear Deck, I'm going to get rid of all these pictures over here. I can add questions real quick. New interactive question. Gonna add yes or no. How many of you guys have used Pear Deck? So I have an idea of my audience. So I have a lot of no's. I have a few yeses as well. Okay, so I will kind of go through that quickly. What is nice about Pear Deck, it gives you immediate feedback, and it's a diverse way of getting feedback. What is a negative if I found out if you don't have really secure wireless? One period I was using it, the next period I wasn't. And it kind of just depends on your school wireless. Also, the free version is anonymous. So I'm not sure who is submitting what. And so sometimes I have to strategically stand where I'm afraid maybe someone, maybe my more challenging student, is just to make sure they are on task. So these are a few questions that I have used from my global studies unit when we were doing population growth. Pear Deck allows you to do multiple choice, but also allows you that you can draw and use those options as well. And so right now, you guys should go ahead, draw some lines, even if you don't know the correct answer, which one's rapid growth, which one's slow, which one's negative. So I can show you what it looks like on my end. And it's anonymous. So if you're totally wrong, I have no idea who did what. So you're okay. So I'll show some of these responses. So I can do kind of a quick scroll through to see what the class has said before we go on. And for this unit, we do a lot more drawing and things like that to show population growth. So I found that Pear Deck worked pretty well. Sketch what you think the Europe's population map would look like. So we read an article and they had to decide, was it heavy on top? Was it small on the bottom? And they sketched out one as well. We got a few people, very good. This person is knowing their Europe population. This person's making a very good population map as well. So you can kind of gauge and project that so the students can see. Another really nice feature is you can also have them text, well, they can write what they're seeing as well. And so I would have students do this if I did not need to per se collect the exit card on their way out, but this would give me a quick, okay, write 2 sentences. What issue could Germany have based on this chart? And I could project the responses as well. So I'll show these too. We can kind of scroll through and then you can have those conversations with the kids. One of the pluses is it is anonymous, so kids don't feel scared to share their answer because they don't know it. It also could be a negative as well. So again, I really enjoyed it, using it, and it worked really well for what I was doing in my Europe unit. Okay, we'll move on. Next, I have many different project options. And again, I'll probably go through just a few of these. Please vote for which kind of area you want to go through first. I'll look at the responses as we're going. So it looks like a lot of writing, some map things as well. What kind of looks like will be my focus. We got some others. So I'm going to continue on. I'm going to start with the writing portion. Now, I will say one negative with Pear Deck is you'll see that I have all these slides linked internally. It will not work when I am on Pear Deck. So that's why I'm kind of scrolling through and not jumping right to the actual link. All right. S'mores. Has anyone used s'more in here? Yes or no? A quick survey so I know how quickly I should go through the information. So I have a few people, mostly no's. All right. S'more is just a nice interactive kind of newsletter that you can put online. I liked it because it kind of brings, I'm going to show you student work instead. Go back to that presentation session. I liked it because it brought like a 21st century kind of skill, something they would use, to a 20th century issue. This was a project I did over muckraking, and I have the rubric and everything you need like that I use to create this. But students were able to write like a newspaper story, and it easily links pictures as well. And so this, they put in the URL, the picture they found online, and they wrote about their story as if they were Jacob Riis, just using a new platform. The kids really liked it. The two issues that I had using this was kids nowadays are very used to using Google and it saves automatically. This does not. So usually I have them type up, thank you, type up what they're going to write in Google and then paste it over. The other issue is making sure they share the link correctly. A lot of kids want to just copy the URL at top. They have to go to the share mode and get that URL because usually the top one is their editing mode. So those were my two biggest issues. And a lot of times I will walk them through exactly how to share. There'll still be 4 that do it wrong, and then I pull them back to my desk to make sure I have it and watch them do it individually. I have really, really liked doing that. I also shared another project idea, Paul Revere's engraving. I did this on Google Doc, and if I was to do this project again, I'd probably use s'more. It was just picking which picture you would use to tell the Paul Revere story. Is it the one where they're all being massacred, the Bostonians, or do you pick one where they're fighting? And the kids really like that project, and I think it would work even better now using this tool. All right, moving on. Google Drawing. Does anyone use Google Drawing in their classroom? Sorry guys, I'm sort of battling a cold at the very same time doing this. All right, let's look at the responses. I've got some yes, some no, so about 50%. Okay. I do not use Google Drawing to actually really draw. I use it as an easy way to bring all the information together. On the right is a newspaper assignment that groups had to do over the Spanish-American War. And one year I tweaked it to just imperialism in general. Each group had to create a certain piece of the story. So they were all graded individually, but together they wrote like a whole newspaper. And I found Google Drawing a better or an easier format for me than using a Google Doc, that it looked cleaner when they put in pictures and text. I made a template first that they could insert everything into, which didn't take very long. It didn't take very long at all. And the kids were able to do it. This is a drawing that a kid made. They didn't do it on the computer. They hand drew it and they took a picture with their phone, and it was very easy to upload. So I've used it just for making the newspaper. I'm sure there's other creative ideas to use as well. All right, Story Jumper. Has anyone used Story Jumper before? Let's see. Oh, mostly no's. This is one of my favorite tools to use, and we've got one yes over there. So the one yes person, I'll make you raise your hand. All right, whoever that is, see them, in the afternoon if you have more questions. But the kids really, really like this. You're writing a children's book. I'm going to pull up some samples for you on my website. These were from a couple years ago. They were about capitalism. And they were trying to tell me, basically explain what capitalism is throughout the book and tell it as if they were a child. So they wrote different stories. I'm going to pull that down. And again, you can look at these links. I have these, I believe, all saved as well, to take a complex topic and be able to explain it to little kids. And so often I've discovered kids can take a complex topic and then it doesn't really change the wording. They just put it back into another document. The children's book makes them really analyze how can they break this down, and it's in their own words. As I tell my kids, I want to read this to my daughter. How can you change this? I have the directions and rubric here. And the storybooks that you saw are a little different than the ones that go with this project. I changed it up a year later. But we did Sell Me a Product, and the kids had to basically write as if they were an entrepreneur. So these books are a little different. And we have the information and the research chart for them too. And I have the sample project. What I'm going to stress is no kids get on Story Jumper unless I have a storybook already written, like the template already written out. Because if they get on it beforehand, they just play with the cartoons and no story gets written. Some kids actually get to use Story Jumper and some just turn in their rough draft of a story, which I can still grade that. That's still an assessment of what they've learned, okay? And so that project is there for you to look at more if you want later. All right, moving on. Maps. I did have, so that's kind of my next section. I did have some people, some geography people. This works too for history. Let me ask again, so I know how quick to go. Has anyone used the story maps from Night Labs before? So it looks like a lot of no's and a couple yeses. Oops. What's great about this, I'm going to go right to the student work. A student just did this last week for my global studies class. We were doing just an introduction, trying to get used to students' writing ability and where can we go in the world. And so they picked 5 places and they did a little write-up, and you can include pictures, my citations. They were supposed to cite down here. This was a good formative check for me to see, do they know how to use like EasyBib and MLA citation and those types of things. And it gave me a great idea or a great perspective on how well they write as well. So I use that. Now, if this is something you're interested in, I do have, and I didn't link it here, but it's on the end document. I have a tutorial with videos on how to use this. So you can just literally project it, the kids listen, and they can do it. So if you're like, I don't know how to explain this, it's already created. It wasn't created by me. I have an amazing Southside teacher who created it and kind of shared this as well. The whole checklist of what we use to make the story, I kind of have a sample template. I just realized the teacher sample is not showing, so I will try to put that up. But these are kind of the requirement. These are the requirements that we had for kids to make this. So I had a sample. This is my rubric that we used. And then the peer feedback at the bottom that students could evaluate each other. We will use this again in my global studies unit when we get to the Middle East, and they'll do it over different religions as well. You can do this for history, kind of plotting out where in the West you would travel. I think that's the one they have as a sample if you go to the site, which is up here. It can be used, geography, history, very enjoyable. All right, I have time for like one more thing, and then I should probably open it up for questions. We'll do maps as well. We'll do National Geographics. I really like this site. Let me ask again if people have used this. A lot of no's. And again, I know there is not as many, I think, geography teachers in here. So I'll make this very, very quick. I have like some sample questions that we used as well, but this is the website. You can go through the questions on your own time to kind of see what we did for different units. This is a great way to use thematic maps and have kids learn and have really great discussions. You come over here, you add layers, and I'm going to go to human population. And I can have lights at night, and I'm going to have population density and add those two. And so what I've really enjoyed when I've had these two ones up at the same time or back and forth is we look at, all right, where are people living? All right, what do you expect then at night skies to look like? All right, well now let's look at that. Does this match the population density? What does that mean about the standard of living? What things are going on here? And so trying to develop questions like that as well. All right. I'm going to skip to the end. Again, there's more things there for you to look at. I have linked. I will say if you're a U.S. studies teacher, please check out U.S. missions, those video games. They are fabulous, not just like games to play, but lessons and units and primary resources. I love, love, love using them. All right, so we're at the end of my time. Tools for social studies should be linked on the agenda. What I have created, and I still got to put a few more things in that some of the teachers from around the district sent me, are the links that I discussed today. And a lot of links that I did not discuss today that could be very helpful. I know as a teacher, I just want a bunch of tools and then I need a few hours to go through them. So I've tried to not just include the links, but also include like rubrics and sample work so you have a good idea of what they do. I hope this is helpful for you. If you're something you really are like, oh, I need unit ideas for Asia or for the progressive era, even though it might not be technology based, you're just a new teacher or you've got a lot of preps, let me know. I'll send whatever I have because that's what I had to do my first few years of teaching. So last but not least, any final questions that you want to ask? I apologize. I know I went really fast and threw a lot of stuff at you, but hopefully there's one or two things that you can play around with this afternoon.
All right, guys, if you guys have any questions, I have the mic, so I will be able to, this is the way she'll be able to hear you ask any questions. So does anybody have any questions for Kim?
I was wondering, when you have those two layers in the map in National Geographic and you ask the kids to respond, can you put those side by side and not have to toggle back between? Because I can't remember and make those connections.
You can put them on top, like you can lay them on top, but sometimes they doesn't show through. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like one is too dark. So a lot of times I will change the transparency back and forth. But both of my layers are on. It's just how dark or light I have made them. And with the night sky, that makes it so dark, it's hard to, it takes out everything else. Some of the layers work good on top of each other.
That's been my problem. Can you ever print off and have those displayed in two different areas? Take a screenshot? Okay, that's a good idea.
Okay, well, I'm glad someone solved it. So thank you, person in the room. Any other questions that
Anybody else have any questions for Kim?
Feel free to email me if you have questions. Let me know feedback. It's always great for me too. I wish I was there because it looks like you guys have great sessions that I would like to learn a lot more from. So
yeah, and first of all, I wanted to say Kim is actually the Iowa History Teacher of the Year for the year, so I think that earns a nice applause too, as well as the work that she did do. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are so glad to have Kim join us from Zoom. Ankeny does not allow the teachers to leave out of their districts just because of the sub shortage. And so we were so pleased that Kim offered to, or we had offered her to Zoom, and we are really glad that she accepted because we knew that she had some really great things to share with us. That link that she posted in the agenda, there are some awesome resources in that, and I wish I knew more about social studies to be able to explain all of them, but I don't. But there are, Alex Glade, he's sitting over here at our table raising his hand. He's actually the social studies consultant for Heartland, so he would be able to offer support as well. But all of those links, she has lessons, she's got rubrics, she's got examples, and so this is definitely a resource that I think would be very helpful for you guys. And so we're going to spend some time looking through that and giving you some time to look through that, because we know that once you get back to your classroom, that document's going to get lost. And so we're going to go, Tyler, what's our time frame?
We have like
I have to go because I have a class.
Okay, thank you so much, Kim.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we have 10 minutes to take a look at the document that she had posted in our agenda. And if you don't know where that is, I will help you find it. But she's got some wonderful links there for us to learn